Creating an induction resource for the SEN department. Coaching an IT reticent teacher on how to make a video. By Linda Kerr. Coaching a colleague can come with trepidation. Approaching someone you work with and asking to teach them something you think they don't know can feel intimidating. As the school librarian, I have a reputation for being tech savvy. So when the head of our special needs education department, or SEN, teacher came around to take my picture for the new school booklet about our school, it gave me an idea. The SEN department puts together a new booklet every year describing the school with pictures so that students who need to can familiarize themselves with how things will look before they enter the building. The booklet is time-consuming to print, and since it's done in-house, its quality is dependent on the printer used. I suggested to this teacher, who will now be called Jane for anonymity, that we could create a film with the same information that might be more accessible to new students and their families. Not to mention it would be more environmentally friendly. I decided to use the GROW method for this coaching experience. It stands for goal, reality, options, and will. The G stands for goal, which is setting the initial goal of the coaching experience. In this case, it's to make a film. Reality is when the coach and the person being coached check what they already know about filmmaking and consider where to begin. Next is options. This is where the options for bridging the learning gap are discussed and what obstacles could hinder coaching. Finally, will is where the coach and the learner create a specific, achievable plan to move towards the goal. Andragogy is the name given to adult education. Increasingly in the field of education, educators must keep up with new technologies to ensure they are connecting with their own learners. Jane has been teaching at this school for quite some time, and although she is open to new technologies, she's not actively seeking them out. Digital literacy, however, is taught in the library, and Jane is well able to navigate the digital world and evaluate the information she finds. So, although this is a very real problem in andragogy, as stated in McGinty and Rehack's paper discussing digital needs in adult learning, Jane is self-sufficient in that area. In our first meeting, Jane and I discussed the goal, which was not creating the resource itself, but learning the skills she would need to create the resource in a film format. Jane stated that she wouldn't feel comfortable rolling out the film this year, but she would like to learn filmmaking skills in Canva, then give herself time to play around and feel confident before rolling out a new resource. Given this information, it was agreed that we could set up a goal of making a 1-minute film that would include a picture she takes herself, a graphic from the catalog available in Canva, and a voiceover of someone she records. These are digital skills she could transfer into her work practice, not just for the one resource. When I first approached Jane, we were very excited about creating a new resource for incoming students. But when we sat down to discuss it, we analyzed what could be done within the time frame and realized we should make our goal smaller. This was the ADDIE design model in action. ADDIE stands for Analysis, Design, Development, Implementation, and Evaluation. We analyzed what we could achieve, then we designed a plan which was being able to upload a picture, a voiceover, and find an appropriate graphic within Canva and use them in a 1-minute film. This also fed into the reality part of the GROW model. It was unrealistic to expect Jane to be able to master filmmaking in Canva to create the resource we want. But our new goal will give her the confidence needed to start the new resource and keep working at it without giving up. Next, it was time to check the reality. What did Jane already know? She was comfortable with the process of drag and drop, but she had no experience making her own artifacts with her phone and moving them to another device or uploading them onto Canva. In order to create the resource we want, she will need to know these things. We are hoping that once she gets more proficient at these skills, we can improve the resource even further by taking videos of different places in school from the student's point of view. For example, This is how it looks when you're walking through the student's entrance. And this is how a science room looks. We could even move on to filming different members of staff ourselves and let the students who need it hear their voices along with seeing them. In the ADDIE model, this is when we designed our 1-minute film and what it should include. Jane and I met and chatted over WhatsApp for this stage in the process. For our options part of the GROW model, I thought it would be easiest if Jane downloaded the Canva app to her phone. That would minimize signing in on different devices until she was comfortable with using Canva. When we met, she showed me that she had downloaded the app and we created an education account for her. She's not had her education account confirmed yet, but while we waited, I invited her to a Canva classroom in my account, so her film can be downloaded if need be. She will not need all the free graphics that come with an education account yet, and she still has access to whatever free account members can do. We decided that her options on using her phone were to use the camera to record video and then use the voice recorder to record sound. This was also the development part of our ADDIE model. The implementation of our ADDIE model was Jane actually recording with her phone an audio and a video file. She then came to our next meeting with those files on her phone, and we went over how to upload them in Canva. Jane wasn't happy with the quality of her recordings once she saw them in Canva, so she went away to record more samples and upload them herself. In our final meeting, Jane and I looked at how she was progressing with her 1-minute film. She was a bit nervous about moving around the soundtrack and matching it to the length of the frame. But with a bit of playing with it under my supervision and reminding her that the back button exists, she felt a lot more comfortable. Jane emailed me to say the final version was ready and she shared it. It is not what I would make, but this is her project. I congratulated her on her achievement and asked her to check in with me once a month on her progress. I know that teachers can get bogged down during mock exams, and then there are the classroom-based assessments that need to get done before Easter. If we agree that she check in and I follow up on those check-ins, then she won't fall behind or let her new skills become fallow. During lockdown, I taught IT-reluctant teachers how to hold live classes over Zoom. Those teachers are my colleagues, and they came to me for help. However, I have never sought out a peer to coach, so the prospect of that was a little daunting. Even though I knew what the assignment was since the start of the module, I had few ideas about who I could approach and how I would do it. I was lucky that when Jane approached me to take my picture, I had a moment of inspiration and floated the idea to her. She was reticent at first, which was understandable. She had been making this very good resource herself for many years, and she knew her way around it. To ask someone to change their work practice, a very successful work practice too, was a bit shocking for her. However, when I reassured her that we were not changing but adding to this impressive resource to allow more students to access it, she readily agreed. Since I had no formal coaching experience, it was great to have the GROW model to follow. It kept me on task and allowed Jane to know what would happen next. Although none of us are never finished learning, Jane knows that we will continue to check in on her new skills, and that gives her the confidence to ask questions when she needs to. She's not just been let loose to create a massive project on her own now after only having a few lessons. Using the ADDIE design model helped us to develop our plan to learn filmmaking and allowed us to set a comfortable pace for Jane. Her evaluations helped us go back and analyze the plan and redesign to suit her. During lockdown, it became apparent in my school that there was a high need for andragogy in the use of tech. It was a time where normal preaching practices needed updating. During lockdown, it became apparent in my school that there was a high need for andragogy in the use of tech. It was a time where normal teaching practices needed updating. Most of the teachers at my school met the challenge and have new skills since 2020. This assignment allowed me to help one person further those skills again. During the research process of this project, I found that this learning gap is prevalent in andragological circles. I am hoping that once Jane finishes her resource, she will let other members of staff know what she's learned, and she can pass on her knowledge to someone else.